Of course, how much Biden could even do depends on who controls the Senate, which brings us back to those decisive Georgia runoffs. Let's bring in Fox News Sunday anchor Chris Wallace. Chris, I've spoken to some Republicans this morning, and they are very concerned that what Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood are doing down there in Georgia, which is encouraging people not to vote in the Senate runoffs unless the legislature meets to make some changes in the election process. They're worried that that could actually depress the vote on January the 5th.
Absolutely, John. They're talking about it. Lynn Wood, famous lawyer, and Sidney Powell, famous lawyer who had been on the Trump team, no longer on the Trump team, holding a rally earlier this week where they urged Republicans not to vote in the special election because they say the November 3rd election was rigged. Somebody called it a don't get out the vote rally. This is going to be a tight race, both of these races, even though you think of Georgia as being pretty reliable red, despite the fact that Joe Biden won it on November 3rd. But in the polls, both of these races are within the margin of error. And when you've got some people saying, don't go out and vote because this election was rigged, when you've got the president tweeting criticism of the Republican governor of Georgia, the Republican Secretary of State of Georgia, the concern is that this is going to depress turnout, which is why it's going to be so interesting to see the message that President Trump delivers when he's in Georgia tomorrow.
The Republicans can afford to lose one of the two seats, but if they lose both, it's dramatically going to affect what happens if Joe Biden is sworn in as president. David Perdue saying that this is the Republicans' last line of defense. How could a win or loss in Georgia affect the Biden agenda going forward if he is sworn in as president?
Oh, it's night and day. I mean, to put it simply, it's the choice between Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. If it's 50-50, which means that Kamala Harris as the vice president would break the tie, then, for instance, if there's a Supreme Court nominee or any judicial nominee, under the new rules, they can be passed on a simple majority vote, not 60 votes, but 50 votes, 50 plus 1. And that would be the vice president. So all of those would go through. It'd be harder on legislation, although, of course, there is the possibility that they could change the rules there and eliminate the filibuster on, so that therefore you could get things through, even legislation, on a simple majority vote. But it will dramatically impact the Biden agenda going forward on judicial nominations, on tax policy, on climate change policy, anything you can imagine.
Who have you got coming up on Fox News Sunday, Chris?
Well, the big story, of course, are these just awful numbers on COVID, and then the possible light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccine coming. We're going to be talking to Secretary of Health and Human Services Alex Azar, the FDA scheduled to review the emergency use authorization for the Pfizer vaccine. Yep. So we'll be talking to him about that. Then we're going to be talking about the possibility of COVID relief with a member of this bipartisan panel that has come up with this $900 billion compromise. That's Senator Bill Cassidy, Republican of Louisiana. And finally, we're going to be talking to John Brennan, former CIA director, about the foreign policy challenges the new president will face. Obviously, we're focusing a lot on domestic policy, but Joe Biden's going to have to take on the world on January 20th as well.
Yeah, I wonder if Brennan might have something to say, too, about the Durham investigation being extended. So we're looking forward to that.
I think he'll be asked about that.
All right.